Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Anim Klesha. So guys, in the last video we saw that Sora and Shiro are having a game with Miko to decide the rules of the Federation, and also they won the game and had three wishes, one of which was to pet the Miko as usual, and second was to ask her to stop Kimono to follow her, and third request was regarding the Damphirs or the sirens. So he's going on to explain the Miko what happened with the plum. Like in the part 1, we saw the conversation between the two. Not in part 1, part 2. Sorry. So in this video, we are going to continue the part 4 of this chapter. Returning to the time sometime back last night, the edge game was set in the different location. So as Sora had declared, he coldly rejected all the demands. Plum clung onto Sora's feet, begging wildly while on the verge of bursting into tears. Please, wait! I can only ask this of you, Your Majesty. You're irritating. I do not intend to get involved with something that clearly rated M18. Please get yourself acquainted with those limits. The race, known as Damphirs, used a white, turbid liquid as a substitute for the blood as food. Regardless of whatever manner it is to be implemented, it would be sent to the restricted area of the room with no excuses. No, no. Some people also become like that. This has indeed turned into an edge story. Please listen to my explanation. If we go on like this, our race will perish. Sora and Shiro suddenly stopped what they were doing. Hearing those words made it impossible for them to ignore the situation. The line of vision of those two intersected to confirm something. A race perishing is a worrisome issue. I listen to what you have to say, but hear this. If I judge the topic to touch on hentai, we are ending this conversation immediately. Sora reluctantly sat on the floor, cross-legged, and sighed when he finished his sentence. Shiro sat on the Sora's lap and Jibril followed to sit beside them. As for Izuna, perhaps due to the long fatigue, she huddled next to the Sora's body and nodded off into the sleep. Thank you very much. Plum wore a teary-eyed expression and repeatedly bobbed at Sora. Please hold on a moment. Some irregular patterns emerged out of her pupil. All of a sudden, what on earth are they doing? In that short time, Jibril appeared before Plum's face and Izuna jumped in a spiral to go behind Plum. The action of these two resulted in a surplus air which was still blowing through the room. Plum screamed while staring blankly at the Jibril's sharp eyes who were staring back at hers. Don't think you are something great just because you managed to get close to Master. But if you really think I will be silly to let you succeed a second time, let me tell you this. Know your place, you little worm. Grandpa said that once I send the scent of a magic of a Damphir, I must immediately avoid the other party's ice dash. Izuna growled. Her voice was cold and filled with weariness. At this point, Sora trembled with fear and trepidation. To the two people who had their guards up, he said, I think because of the 10 oath, she should not be able to cause any harm, right? Even if it does not result in any harm, it is possible to disguise another cognition, that is to say. Her hostile gaze shifted to Plum's side. Concealing over there a gigantic luggage or such. Jibril stared to an empty space as if there was something there. Plum waved frantically while she tearfully explained the situation. This is a misunderstanding. I had only applied the disguising of cognition to myself. With a thunderous sound, numerous suitcases appeared from nowhere. Izuna sniffed with her nose and then let her guard down and returned to Sora and Shiro's side. As I had too much luggage, because of that, I had just disguised the existence of the bags so as to make it easier to carry. It was at this time that Sora and Shiro grasped the situation and widened their eyes in surprise. In other words, You hid the existence of your luggage, thus eliminating their weight? No, it only removes the feeling of the volume and the weight. It does not imply the luggage has disappeared. So, when you first appeared, you were so fatigued because of this reason? So sorry, because it's too heavy. Plum constantly bowed to apologize, but Jibril, on the other hand, the Damphirs, disguise and illusions, they are at many times superior to the elves in regards to affecting one's cognition through magic. Those trunks of luggage had always been there. We were just not aware of them. Wow, but Jibril was aware of them? It makes me sad to admit this, but I was not paying attention. I would have overlooked it. There will never be a second time. Jibril spoke with a clenched fist and lowered head. Nonetheless, Sora's gaze moved to her side. Izuna, why did you drop your guards? Because I did not smell the scent of lice thus. Perhaps she had become fatigued from moving so suddenly. Izuna had curled up into a ball and yawned when she replied. Sora and Shiro narrowed their gazes. In front of their eyes was Plum. She had flipped over her luggage and looked as if she was searching for something. Then she said, I found it! She unfolded a document. Mm, uh, Rumors has it that Sora-sama intends to unite all the races. Yeah, that was the external reason. They had merged with the Eastern Union and were preparing to create a federation. Such a large matter should have been already exposed to the public, but as for who was controlling the race pieces, it should be a secret kept between Sora, Shiro and Miko. As he did not feel any special need to mention this, Sora simply expressed his affirmation. Let me get right to the point. Feeling satisfied with the Sora's reply, Plum continued her speech. Currently, we, the Damphirs and the Sirens, are on the verge of extinction. Although we have tried every possible way, we are all still powerless. So, we hope to rely on the assistance of the Sora-sama and his companions. Jibril, can you explain to me how Damphirs are related to sirens? Upon hearing Sora's inquiry, Jibril quietly accepted his order and lowered her head. She began to explain to Sora. After the implementation of the Ten Oath, the Damphirs could not absorb the blood of others without permission. Thus, they have to live relying on the others. And the sirens are also in a similar situation. The sirens, the 15th ranked, are the race that can only live in the ocean. Shiro began to proceed with her explanation. The exceed 15th ranked sirens, to simply put it, they were a race of mermaids. They live in the shallow portion of the ocean and had the upper body of a human and had a fish tail instead of legs. Their ecology had certain peculiarities, first of which was they had that they could not leave the ocean for a long time. Because of this, they built the undersea city named Oceando, which was the vast maritime territory. The second peculiarity was that they were a race with only females. In other words, their way of reproducing required males of different race. After hearing Shiro's explanation, Sora looked at Jibril with half-open eyes. I say, be it Damphirs or the Sirens, aren't the biological defects of this world too serious? There were no issues in the beginning, only after the implementation of the Ten Oaths. Jibril continued her speech. As the Sirens only need to catch another race's male and eat them, the Damphirs can just suck the blood without saying anything. There were no problems, but they cannot do any harm to others because of the Ten Oath. Perhaps other races had been hurt, but they should be the ones who were most deeply hurt. Jibril had a smile on her face and emitted a murderous aura while talking about the past. Sora directed a question at her. Sir, what do you mean by catching to eat, exactly as it implies? At that moment, a grim image of a girl whose lower half was of a fish taking a big bites and chewing up the other races flashed into his mind. This may be fallen under the M18 ban for a different reason. Sora shuddered at the thought. However, Jibril shook her head. No, because Master said to be healthy, so I put it subtly. It has a sexual meaning. How can there be such a heaven in existence? I want to go. Jibril, let's set off immediately. Sora joyfully stood up and Jibril replied in surprise. You'd be extracted until exhaustion or even death. Is that really okay? How can there such be an hell in existence? I don't want to go. I'd never go in there in my life. The mermaids could not reproduce unless they drained the life of the someone of another race. How much does this world want to betray my hopes and common sense until it's satisfied? Sora's mood instantly hit rock bottom. He sighed and sat back down. Not understanding why Sora was dejected, Jibril continued her explanation. Anyway, the Damphirs and the Sirens are the races that cannot live without causing any harm to others. With the Ten Oath hurting their survival at such a time, Damphir must have set their target onto the Sirens. Sora nodded. Yeah, ranking them as the 15th between humanity and the Werebeast was a fitting choice. That means they cannot use magic either, right? No wonder the Damphirs, who were the expert at illusions and disguise magic, unilaterally intend to bet them out for a food. Both races, which were on the verge of extinction, would not be worried about the bats, I suppose. The atmosphere was still full of murderous intent, but as it pertained to a matter of survival. Jibril was smiling happily instead. Unfortunately, this matter seems to have taken a right angle and dramatically changed. It has become an issue well known all over the world. Rather than going up the ramp, they were going in the direction of a right angle. Jibril continued her speech happily. Getting bitten by a Damphir will result in a disease. I believe I have said that before. Yeah. To simply put it, the disease is that you will die when you are exposed to sunlight. Since they were already unable to go ashore, they have already lived under the sea. Disease does not constitute a problem to the sirens. That is to say. At that point, Plum smiled weakly and replied, Yes, we Damphirs made a symbiotic proposal. Jibril continued speaking. They adopted the strategy for the sirens to provide the blood and the Damphirs to provide the magic to bat out the other races for food. The Damphirs intend to put up a united front with the sirens. That is really amazing. Sora and Shiro placed them together in their hearts. Even though they were facing the crisis of extinction, it was impossible for them to pull any tricks. To think they managed to come up with a perfect escape route that takes each other's interest into account, and it was correct and a problematic proposal. Yeah, they really were a race that greatly stupefies others. I'm referring to the sirens. What? Jibril then smiled towards the pitiful Plum while she continued speaking. Because to the Damphirs, who they were coexisting with, the sirens have actually taken a bite. The result is that Damphirs lost tragically to the sirens. The Damphirs are now forced to find the males to help the siren reproduce, and the males of the Damphirs are forbidden from sucking the blood of any race other than the sirens. What a baffling contract. Perhaps even the Shiro's intelligence, she had not foreseen such a situation. She looked towards Jibril and could not help but suspect that she misheard those words. Ha ha ha. This is really so hilarious. Opposite to them, Plum had somewhat an expression of despair. Manchester probably did not expect that. The sirens did not understand the consequences of the Ten Oath and unconsciously contributed to their own extinction, I think. Haha. With their face full of misfortune, a gloomy smile emerged on her considerably fatigued face. Nee, what's going on? Shiro tilted her head in confusion as if she had just been handed someone else's big mess. Sora responded to her and said, in other words, I hope it isn't. Although it was an incredulous thought, Sora still proceeded to say it. The Damphirs did not use their magic and made a fake game, and proposed that if there was a tie, they would have a symbiotic relationship with each other. But the sirens did not understand the intentions of the Damphirs and won the game unilaterally and were so happy with the outcome. Am I right? From the Gibril's pitifying smile and Plum's exhausted smile, one could tell it was totally correct. The sirens are idiots after all. Their reputations reverberates to the heavens, the super idiots of the 3000 worlds. They are really a race that is stupid to the extreme. Haha. Grandpa said that they are more stupid than the hairless apes. Thus, Jibril, who looked full of contempt, Plum, and even Izuna, who should have been asleep, answered to Sora's question without hesitation. This is too much. To think there are a race that could even look down upon more than humanity. I am a little touched. However, Jibril continued her speech with a smile on her face. Well, that way, things get very interesting too. First, she put up a finger. To begin with, the Damphirs can survive by consuming the body fluids of the other than blood. Then, she put up the second finger. But growth requires blood. If they do not mix their soul, they will always maintain a childlike appearance. Then, the third finger was put up. Because the sirens need to suck the blood of only males of the other race, they are barred from doing so because of the oath. However, because they will maintain the appearance of a child, the Damphirs will be unable to reproduce among themselves. Thus, in order to obtain blood, the males have to obey the sirens, and in order to give birth, female also have to obey the sirens. Following which, she put up the fourth finger. Even if a sirens were to disobediently flee from the city, they would still carry the disease. That should be enough to understand, right? Finally, with a smile, Jibril put up the fifth finger. Because the Damphirs have such idiotic opponents, they have accidentally been driven to a corner. Shiro had already lost interest in this foolish story and was playing with her nails. Sora was also looking confused at the ceiling. Suddenly, what Plum said flashed through Sora's mind. No. Some people also become like that. Let's try to sort out this information and think before judging them. First of all, Damphir females have no obligation to obey the sirens, so they can leave. It's just that they will continue to live like a child appearance. But as long as they have the body fluids of the other races, they can survive. Under such conditions, the appropriate body fluid ranked behind the blood is that. And she said that. Some people also became like that. Just wait a moment. Then that's a legitimate lolly. But we have solved this issue once in the past. He? Aha. He? What did you say? Sora just became completely biased. Everything Plum said seemed to have somewhat confusing, so she pulled back. What we said after speaking about the Ten Oath, the Damphir have been successful in establishing the symbiotic relationship. Jibril nodded and continued speaking. The essence that the sirens requires from males, the soul essence, must be won and depleted before reproduction. However, when a single generation comes from a single person and the rest are still living, the amount of soul essence required for breeding is that to be extracted will not cause the death of the ingested individual. To put it simply, it means that if, let's say, A and B are reproducing and their progenies, their generation is still living, like their sons and daughters are still living, then if they have a sex again for the another generation, it will not cause the death of either A or B. As simple as that. The Damphirs are only the absolute compliance to her for assistance with the reproduction. With her identity of a queen, every generation of the sirens come from the soul representative. They take the approach to only have the queen reproduce. Oh, a clever trick. Sora clapped his hands to express his admiration, and Shiro clapped similarly as if she was presenting an offering to the gods. The Damphirs are pretty much just assisting the sirens with reproduction, and it isn't a violation of oath. On the other hand, they can also deny the sirens if they mean to extract energy from them until they die. The Damphirs also have the blood they can suck. Wow, is this not a perfect situation to be in? So it was like this. Although major mistakes were made, this gorgeous drama had a nice plot twist. They managed to make it such that neither will perish while existing a system that ensures the continuity of the both races. In other words, they had successfully achieved the interracial coexistence that Sora and Shiro and his companions were trying to achieve, and did so earlier than them. This is sure enough a great feat. The Damphirs aren't ranked 12th for nothing. Unfortunately, Master, that system had collapsed because of the queen of that generation. Just how many plot twists are there in this story? Then, what good did the queen of that generation do? Sora asked with the cold eyes, but Jibril remained smiling. Through this time, she had her fingers on both hands stretched open. Nothing at all, was Jibril's reply. Plum, who originally wore an expression of misfortune, now looked as if her soul was about to come out of her, and she laughed bitterly for a while. She left me with the message, "Let me sleep until my prince comes. I will not wake up till then." And then she was out cold. Huh? Jibril was grinning madly. What made her smile that much? In other words, the Damphirs can undergo reproduction with the sirens' current queen as long as they do not die. But when her mother was still the queen, she was affected by some fairy tale and placed to the 10 oath, then left that sentence and entered the eternal sleep. Hey, are you kidding me? Until the prince that makes her fall in love appears. In other words, only if someone places by the oath through the game that she had set up would she wake up. Also, this cold sleep that she is in is similar to the bad blood ability of the bear beast. It is an ability of the sirens to continue sleeping for thousands of years or more. But Jibril said this while sitting in a good posture, then started fanning herself. Okay, my audience, the world's stupidest truth is finally coming to an end. Did she take herself for a storyteller? Jibril happily continued on with her unique manner of speech. Well then, the queen did set a certain game, but in the end, how would one make her fall in love with him while she was sleeping? Everyone had nothing to say. Plum was just watching from afar with a weak smile. Sora looked like he was enduring a headache, and Shiro was already yawning while Yuzuno was sleeping soundly. Jibril, who was the only one in high spirit, continued her speech. The original excuse that the Damphir males used to reject the reproduction was that they would only help by undergoing reproduction when the other party, the queen, was on the verge of death. But here comes the question. What would happen if the queen sleeps and never wakes up? Then she opened the fan and acted as if she had become a limp. The current queen has entered a cold sleep for 800 years now, and the former queen had already passed on. They waited for the current queen to see if she could wake up naturally after a few hundred years. The result was the Damphir male gradually got eaten, following which Jibril bowed deeply. This infamous situation reverberated throughout the 7 continents as the stupidest history to have ever existed in the world. What do you think about this, my audience? The next performer seems to be ready to perform now. Let me take a bow and audio. I'm not particularly ready, but whatever. I get this where this is going. It was no wonder why everyone thought those rays have perished long ago. However, there is still a single doubt. After the last Damphir male had been eaten, wouldn't that result in the sirens' extinction? If the sirens even had a brain to understand the situation, I wouldn't have to go through all this. Truth be told, there was only one male remaining, and he's still too young. which means there are only 5 seconds to their extinction. Sora understood that, but how are we supposed to help in this such a situation? From what I had heard from Jibril, all the cards are already drawn on the table. Ah, the story told by the Fugle actually has a follow-up. Since they were finally getting to the topic, Plum's expression suddenly brightened up. Although the queen currently in the state of a cold sleep, she still retains her consciousness. So, if we were to gather all the fragments of her consciousness and intervene with a spell in her dreams so that she can meet her love within her dreams, such a dating sim would thus be possible. Ooh, so now it's a dating sim. Sora could not help but laugh. Jibril, does interfering with the dreams violates the 10th oath? Yes, if no harm is intended or no danger will be caused directly, and more so in this case, the queen is waiting for her beloved prince, the fact is that this counts as her consent to the situation. Plum nodded and proceeded to renew her request. Please, let the queen fall in love with you. In the order to do this, I have prepared the countermeasures. Sora and Shiro looked to each other's faces. They already had their answer. Sora and Shiro had a goal of conquering all the 16 races, so helping out was the only option from the beginning. But Sora expressed that even so, there were still things that must be confirmed. When we win the game, what will be our reward? Plum removed her cheat sheet once again. Providing 3% of the underneath sea resources of Oceando and establishing permanently friendly relations. Plum was sighing while reciting those sentences. It took me a week to make sirens understand the reality of the situation, make them accept and obtain this condition. As it turned out, this condition was not too bad. But Sora's stern expression showed that he was very concerned about one thing. And also that Plum coldly played with her fingers and then aimed with her fingers. Looking towards her great volume of luggage, she bowed her head while her face was flushed red. I can be at your disposition. So I brought all my household items, luggage along with me. Quit shuddering. Everyone, we are gonna step in earlier and save the people on the brink of extinction. Sora completed his preparation and looked like he was ready to run out the door. With loving eyes, he spoke to Plum. Please rest your worries, miss. There is no dating sim game I have not mastered. So, hurry and tell me the details. Then we'll leave as soon as possible for me to obtain my legitimate lollies. Looking at how intense Sora's gaze was, Plum exposed an expression of joy. Why, yes. Because of the dream's interference, you can freely set the location, and basically, the aim of the game is to make the queen fall for you and confess to you. What flashed through Sora's mind was Tokimeki Memorial. For a G-rated dating sim, Sora confirmed that there would be no problems. There are no characters that I have not conquered, was what Sora affirmed in his heart, but that's for a dating sim where the conditions set to fulfill and all the dialogues and actions are immediate. Sora and Shiro exchanged the glances and smiled while nodding to each other. Then, they decided that their original verdict should be overthrown. No need to discuss any further. I refuse. Please return. Bye bye. Gambatte. Do not go extinct. The two of them laughed while saying those words. Okay guys, that's it for the video. Part 4 of this chapter 1 of the volume 4 ended. Hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe, and see you in the next video with the part 5. See ya. Take care. Stay safe.